Just
Okay,
plug my channel for
guys,
me.
it looks like we
Sorry.
are live here on Caliber Corner number 16. Today we're going to talk about what to do with Bambi once you've dropped Bambi out in the woods, or what to do with that what to do with that deer once you get it. Guys, before we get started, let's check out and see who's in the chat right now. We got Midnight Range TM already working hard in the kitchen. We've got Grim90 out there having a good time. We got Patriot in the Dark out there chilling. Let's see, over on the gun channel side. Let's see, Tony's there. Tony's here. We got Garage Guns over on the gun channel side. We've got Too Hottie out there right now. Guys, if anybody on gun channels wants a link, go ahead and let me know. I'm still putting down my caffeine this morning. It's been a really crazy morning. So yes, yesterday's pomade. We are live now. I wasn't even paying attention to the clock. We were having a great discussion about reloading again. Go figure. But before we do any of that, let's go ahead and let the panel introduce themselves. Tony, you got anything you want to say? You got any plugs you want to put in? Any shows?
Just the early watch every weekday from whenever the hell it starts to whenever it ends.
All right, cool.
8:30 Central till, God, I can never remember, 11.
11:30, somewhere around 11. Depends on what you guys what you guys are talking about.
We precede the daily gun show, so we started at 8:30 Central, go till like 11.
Okay. I love it, man. Every day there's something new. I love listening to you guys talk, and what's cool about it is, even though you and Jimmy sometimes have opposing views on things, there might be some differences. You have an opinion. You keep it civil in your discussions. You don't sit there and let it turn into a Fox News interview where people are screaming at each other and nothing actually happens in the end. So I appreciate that, Tony. I really do.
Well, thank you. Me and Jimmy get along so well.
You got to give him that fatherly advice that he needs. That's what I like about it. You keep him on the straight and narrow. So,
and it was like that from day one, and that's why I stayed, because I just jumped in the second day of the show just to help him out, and it was so entertaining for me to do that I've been there ever since.
And I got to tell you something, man. If I were retired or I had more free time, anytime we have a snow day and there's no school, I'm with you guys, man. I had a blast. I think we spent 6 hours last winter when I jumped in with you guys, man. It was like 10. That's when it was like 10 to 2 or 10 to 3 in the afternoon when you guys were running it. And I burned through 6 hours or 5 hours of chat time, and I had no idea where the time went. I mean, it literally was like, oh man, crazy. So it was good. It was very cool.
Those long formats were tough.
Well, if you don't know specifically, or if there's just really not much going on, you're trying to find something to chat about, it can be more of a challenge when you're trying to come up with some discussion topics. There we go. MRTM. I'd like a ham and cheese omelet with hollandaise and a couple pancakes. And he's busy making other people's food. Okay, I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah. I got important people here.
Oh, hey, I'm a paying customer. All right, I'm a paying customer, Nate.
That's true. I will make you $1 worth of an omelet.
Don't make me like everybody else. Don't make me be like everybody else and go on Yelp and give you a 1-star review. Okay.
Yeah, I fucking hate Yelp, man. I hate Yelp with a passion.
It's the place where people go when they're upset about the restaurant they went to or the store they went to. And they just I don't even read it. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, too. Yelp a couple years ago got their ass in trouble. Those sons of bitches were like charging people to take down bad reviews.
That's extortion, isn't it? That's extortion.
It really, well, yeah. It actually, I don't know what happened with it. I don't know if they stopped doing it because they got sued, basically.
That kind of sounds like what YouTube's doing to my channel right now too. So,
yeah, it's not cool at all.
Well, we'll talk about.
Don't use Yelp. Use something else.
Heck
TripAdvisor.
TripAdvisor's awesome. I've been writing reviews on that for probably almost close to like 6 or 7 years now, maybe even longer. I don't do a lot of reviews, but there's not a lot of reviews for the small town I live in, so I do reviews for it.
Yeah.
But Squib, if you're there, do you want to say a few words? You said you're going to be hitting the road to go to work here.
What's
up, man?
I hooked up to the phone there, so I'll be shutting down the desktop here in a bit. I guess I'll promote Lock and Load Monday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern. And Oiley's Humble Home Thursdays at 9 Eastern. Both shows we talk about prepping and other stuff. Lock and Load's more gun channels, and Oiley's is more prepping, that sort of thing. Also, with your comments about early watch, I agree. I really like early watch Tony. You guys help me in the morning with getting through work. What sucks is when I have to turn off my phone because they want to have a meeting or something like that. That's not as important. I'd rather be listening to early watch. So,
Man, wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all? Jeez.
Yeah, I've been hitting the early watch and the daily show almost every day because I'm up with my little guy for breakfast, and it's been really good, man. There's been a couple of great shows the last couple of weeks.
Travis, I'm pretty convinced you don't sleep at all because you're on everybody's chats. I mean, it was 1 a.m. this morning, and I had just finished a long, difficult session playing video games. I know, first world problems. And I just sent that email out like at 1:30, and you're like, yeah, man, I got a long day tomorrow. So I was like, holy, it's like 4 hours you have to get up and go to work, you know?
Yeah, and I overslept a little bit today, so hey, I'm kind of hustling around here talking to you at the same time.
What's the status of your channel? Have you been able to monetize your videos yet? Do you have enough subs to do that yet, or not? Have you gotten there for views?
No, not on on VidMe. I've been, but not on YouTube. I only have about 110 subs.
Okay.
So I need a couple of more. I don't know what you have to. I can't even remember what you have to do. I think it's 10,000 views or something like that.
I want to say 10,000 views total, and then after that you're able to monetize, and you're able to. They give you a Google partner status or YouTube partner status or whatever. But
yeah, I have about 1,300 views so far, which I'm happy with. I got no problem with that. It's been crazy lately, so all I've been able to do is maybe some live chats and stuff. But once things get settled down, I'll get back to it. It's just been hard lately.
All right, guys. So if you're here, you need to get on over to Midnight Range TM's channel. I want you guys to sub there. I want you guys to go over to Gun Channels, create an account over there, start maybe putting up some content, think about doing your own podcast. Get over there and do so. AWAG, I know you're a little busy this morning, but do you have anything you'd like to plug for your channel? He said he was going to be eating breakfast. He might be busy chowing right now. All right, so AWAG, you can come back in here anytime that you want to, so that'll be fine. So, all right, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about today. So we had a really good chat last week. What does it really cost to go hunting? And we talked about, the high budget, the low budget, great alternatives for things that you can do. So now let's imagine that we're out in the woods and you took that shot, you dropped that deer. Where do you go from there? Okay, I did put a link in this Caliber Corner for probably one of my favorite videos that I'll watch it once a year before I go out. And it's about an hour long from start to finish, but this guy covers everything. It's actually a couple different segments that he put into one video. Now, it's not the greatest camera quality or the best video quality, but if you listen to what the guy does as he walks you through the steps, basically skinning and gutting, the whole process you need to go through, it really does cover everything you need to know. And you want to watch it before you go out. That's the most important thing. Don't be sitting there watching the video while you got a knife in your hand trying to gut that deer in real time. Now, a lot of guys are going to say, well, man, you just zip it open and dump it out. But there are some guys here that have contacted me and said, hey, I'm looking for some good advice on that first deer hunt. I don't know what to do once I get it. What can you recommend to me? So watch that video. I can just kind of give you the basic overview of what you're going to do and what you need to watch out for. And then from there, we can just share some ideas for what to do with the deer. Everything from once you basically hang it up, where do you go from there? Because it is a very labor-intensive process, in my opinion, especially if you have a huge buck, you've got a pretty good-sized doe. It's really not easy. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Now, you don't have to have a lot of fancy equipment to do it. There's a lot of stuff that can make your life a lot easier, and there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration before you go out there and do it. So, Tony, you want me just to talk about the basics of gutting? Is that okay? Because we had talked about this. Yeah, anything you want to add before we talk about this? Yeah.
First things first, take some Vicks with you. Some Vicks Vapor Rub. And before you start gutting this deer, put Vicks under your nose.
Yeah. You could also use like a simple painter's face mask. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but you don't want to get that deer and then find yourself getting too nauseous or sick from what you're doing that you can't keep yourself composed while you're doing it. That's why, again, I want you to watch this video that I put the link for. And I'm not being endorsed by this guy, but watch because there's some good zoom-ins, the stuff you're going to see when you open this up and what you have to do. You might not, this is not some little frog dissection. If this is your first deer hunt, or you haven't gone in a long time, or you've never done this before, if you didn't grow up hunting deer, you're not conditioned to what you're about to do because the smell is interesting. Just everything that's going to affect you. That's a really good piece of advice. Just talk about the basic gear that I think you need when you go out into the field. Obviously, you're going to have all of your hunting equipment with you. It's nice to have somebody come with you. Consider some way like taking a cart with you. Or the first time I got my first deer, we didn't have a cart. We were about 125 yards through the woods, right along the Platte River before. And to get this deer back, my buddy and I basically drug it back. And like idiots, we took like nylon rope that's used for buoys from Walmart. I mean, we were fudding it to the max. I'm not kidding you. And we drugged the deer back and got it loaded up and took it home and cleaned it out. So, I mean, we did the gutting in the field. But a cart is nice. I mean, I've got some horror stories about how far we've had to bring the deer back to get it back to the vehicle. I don't even want to get into. If you do an ATV, that would be awesome. Or if you can park it in a place where you can just maybe go 50 yards and get it loaded up and take it back, that's great. If you have a truck right there on standby, that would make it nice. But again, you're going to be set up early that morning. So you got to, first of all, start off, how am I going to get this thing back once I get it? Okay. And then the next thing you need to consider, what are the tools I'm going to need in the field to field dress this thing in order to gut it, right? I would consider a knife with a very short, sharp blade. That way, because the thing is, you're going to be basically slicing up. You want a short blade so that you don't nick any of the intestines as you go from the bottom to the top. And I'm not going to detail this step by step what you want to do because I don't want to miss anything. You want to watch the video because the guy covers it. Essentially, you have a nice sharp knife once you drop the deer. You're going to roll it over on its back. You're going to make an incision around the anus, right, towards the bottom off to the right. And then you're going to basically just start to skin up. But when you skin it, you got to keep that blade pointed upward. If you point your blade down and start to slice, you risk nicking the intestines and the stomach, and then you've got some serious issues. I mean, you're going to have to wash all this stuff anyway when you get it home. But that's the last thing you want to do is nick that. And as you work your way up, well, there's things you need that you're also going to need. You also might want to consider maybe a short blade with a saw on it. Like a short saw that you can use to saw the pelvic bone, and also the sternum once you get up towards the top of the chest. But as you work your way up towards the top, you need to make sure you keep that skin pulled back towards you. And as you get towards the chest, you slice the chest open. And then from there, okay, I'm just kind of running this through quickly. This is what you're going to run into. From there, you're going to need to slice through the throat, through the trachea. And then you start to work your way back down. You're going to have a diaphragm that's going to be basically attached to the inside lining of the deer. It's going to be containing the guts. And you want to use that short knife to just slice the diaphragm as you pull away from the inside of the rib cage and work your way down. Okay, you just kind of keep going and keep going. And then eventually you can start to pull that out with the throat. And then you're going to see like stuff come out that it's always kind of an adventure for me. And then essentially as you lift the deer up, okay, it's all going to come out. All right. Now there's also going to be probably a tremendous amount of blood that you need to be ready for also. Rubber gloves are nice to have. Just pack a roll of paper towels, some hand sanitizer. Make sure you have a basic med kit because you're going to be using really sharp knives. You don't want to nick yourself in the field and have to stop and try to figure out what you're going to do. Tony, what else do you think? What else do you think we need? We need some latex gloves or gloves like, latex or nylon or whatever. Yeah.
If you're exceptionally squeamish, you can go to a farm store and get capping gloves, which are basically plastic gloves made out of the same thing that like a baggie's made out of, that go all the way up your arm. When you field dress a deer, it's in-depth and personal endeavor, and you will get messy.
Okay, now Midnight Range is talking about a gut hook. The gut hook is nice, but you have to be careful as you're slicing that gut hook up. There's like a knife that'll have like a little hook end on it with like a flat, blunt surface on the top, and you reverse it and use it to zip open the deer. Those are nice to have too, but you don't want to go too far that you nick into the intestine or the stomach. The last thing you want to do is break open any of the stomach or the digestive tract, because after you do that, you're basically going to have a hose ready to go to wash out the inside because of all the bacteria and crap that's now going to escape. Once you've removed the innards, and another thing to consider maybe just a disposable apron that you can put on so you don't get yourself completely just soaked if you've never done this before. And there's other things you got to watch out for too, like the bladder. You have to be careful of that. You have to watch for the stomach. And like I said, this is all detailed in the video that I put a link for. Once you get all the guts out, then you want to roll the deer over, and it's just going to basically, all the blood and everything's going to come out. Just let it sit for a couple minutes. And then after that, you begin the process of taking it back home. All right. Now, once you get it back home, You're going to want to wash out the inside, definitely. Now, don't worry about another thing, too. Here's the other thing. The entrails. What do you do with the guts and the intestines and the stomach? If you're on private land, you might want to double check with the landowner and make sure it's okay that you leave it. If not, you're going to need to take like a heavy trash bag with you to put that in, to contain everything on the way home, like to put it all in so you can get that off the land. A lot where I am at, it's just all wildlife management land, so you can leave it. Coyotes will come along and eat it. Birds will come along and eat it. Vultures, So you don't really have to worry about that, but make sure you know what you're going to do with the guts, because you're talking about 50 pounds or 35 pounds of waste. Okay. So keep that in consideration. AY, do you want to say something real quick? Go ahead, bud.
Sorry, I'm back. But did you guys explain the process of cutting the deer open? How you want to go from basically where the breastbone is all the way to the butt, instead of the butt to the breastbone?
You can go either way. I prefer to go up from the bottom so that I can pull back the skin and make my way up past the digestive tract instead of cutting down. So to me, it's easier to go. But it doesn't matter. Either way, it doesn't make any difference. You can do it however you want to.
I've seen it done both ways. When we went from the breastbone down, we had it hanging up in a garage. It was hit on the highway, and state police tagged it and said you can have it. And we went from top to bottom. The other time, my buddy and I were in the field. We were on the side of a hill. We had to drag the thing up the hill, and he says, "We got to lighten this thing. We need to gut it anyhow." And he went from the bottom to the top with a different kind of knife, because it was laying on its side. I thought not because it was one particular method over another, because we did not have a tree that we could string this thing up and hoist it over so everything fell out. So, I mean, does that make a difference?
I start in the middle so you can grab the freaking hide and lift it up.
Now, I always would want to do it from the breastbone to the butt, because if you basically, the butt is essentially where the animal poops. I don't want to be taking all that bacteria and stuff and just basically going all the way through the hide with it.
But do you hang it every time you do it that way?
Not normally, no.
Okay, I didn't know if that was necessary I've only been part of it twice. So when we hung it and we went from the breastbone down, I used a K-bar to do it, which is a big knife. Mm-hmm. But when my buddy did the one from the back to the front, he used a small knife like what you were talking about, Travis.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, guys, we weren't live over on Gun Channels. For some reason, I put 16 up, but it never saved, so we should be live over on Gun Channels at this point, guys. My bad on that. I wanted to get that up and running so Gun Channels can see it. You can go either way that you want to. I tend to do the gutting out in the field since I'm there, and I don't really have a way to easily dispose of it once I get home other than just a trash bag and a dumpster. And since I can leave it for the other animals, that's what I tend to do. But again, when you watch a video, the guy goes from the bottom to the top. You could probably watch other videos on how to start in the midsection, like what Tony says, or work your way from the top to the bottom. But I guess I kind of prefer to go from the bottom to the top. So then, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It's pretty much up to you. We're already starting to get some questions over on the YouTube side, so I just want to address those real quick so we don't miss them. Let's see. It was Gary Decker was asking us what town or what city. Gary, I'm located. I know you're in Kansas, Gary. I'm in Lexington, Nebraska, which is basically a couple hours north of Hays, Kansas. I'm not sure if you're in Concordia or Wichita or Hays. So that's where I'm at. Again, right along the Platte River, we have a ton of hunting ground. There was another one that was here. We might as well go ahead and address this one real quick because, we'll come back to the whole gutting process. It's not going anywhere. Sean Newman says, I really want to try hunting, but I don't know anybody who hunts. Any advice for an adult who wants to get into hunting? Sean, you can get great books on the basics of deer hunting. You can watch a lot of YouTube videos on it. I think it's a very, very simple process, but Sean, go back and if you didn't get a chance to watch it, watch Caliber Corner 15, because we talk about everything it takes to get into hunting, everything from trying to find that right rifle to land. We cover a lot of it in that episode of Caliber Corner. So do check it out. I like to think there's a lot of useful information in here because we had a lot of guys that have a lot of experience in last week's episode. Scott Pacini said a bone saw, and that's another thing. Okay. So let's make sure we don't have any other questions here. I think we're good. Yeah, they're talking about different ways that you can cut open the deer. They're mentioning a sawzall or a chainsaw. That's probably overkill. If you want to drag a 15-pound chainsaw out into the woods, you go right ahead. A good sharp buck knife is perfect, yes. And Gary says he's south of Topeka. Okay, so back to gutting the deer. Go ahead, Tony.
I want to touch on this person that asked about starting hunting.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're not into any form of hunting, starting from scratch, I would suggest you start on something like squirrel to see if you got the actual taste for hunting and killing animals and whatnot before you take the plunge that is deer hunting, because it's fairly substantial investment to get started.
Yes.
You know, I just, if you've not hunted anything before, I would start with the cheapest route I could find to make sure you like it.
About finding somebody who hunts, in my experience, camo. If I go to work and I'm wearing a camo hat or a camo t-shirt, people automatically assume I'm a hunter, and they'll just start talking to me, usually about bow hunting. And I have to tell them, no, I don't hunt. I'd like to, but I don't. And that's usually where the conversation turns to, really? Well, hey, you know, I've got some property, and you know, if you'd like, you can come out. And it's kind of, I've noticed hunting is somewhat like reloading. Guys who reload want to get everybody else into reloading. Hunters, some of them are real possessive. They don't want anybody else out there. But there are a whole bunch of them that want to get other people into hunting. And maybe it's because if there aren't enough people hunting, maybe hunting might go away. I don't know what it is, but they most of them seem to be real friendly and real open. And now everybody has their opinion, just like reloading. Everybody has their opinion, and sometimes you might get some bad advice or advice that doesn't work for you, like I did recently. But it shouldn't be something that totally discourages you from wanting to go. But if you have a camo hat, especially blaze orange or something like that, and there's a bunch of people at work, somebody might go, "Do you hunt?" And you know, maybe they're looking for somebody to show them how to hunt, but maybe not. So
two things here. Blaze orange, great idea, because nobody in their right mind wears a friggin' blaze orange hat unless they're a hunter. And there's nothing wrong with hunting alone. I do it all the time. I didn't like it in years past because hunting was more of a social thing for me and my family and friends to get together. But as I get older, I prefer to be by myself. Nobody else to blame for shit going wrong.
Yeah. Again, not to deviate from the, you know, what to do with the deer when it's down, but it's good we cover this right now because we probably have people joining us that haven't done this before. But, you know, and again, with the rifle, you can always ask to see if somebody would loan you, you know, say 243, 270, 308, 30-06. It also depends on the size of the game. Also, make sure you go to like your local Walmart or your local gun store and get a guide for hunting in your state. So that way, you know, the specific laws and rules. Like in Nebraska, you have to have so many square inches of blaze orange on you while you're out hunting. And I mean, some places allow blaze orange camo. Other states don't allow blaze orange camo. You have to wear a blaze orange vest and a hat. So just make sure that you know that part of it before you just say, okay, I'm going hunting next week. I'm taking a rifle.
That particular law is why I said what I said about the blaze orange hat, because that's the only reason we buy them, because we have to.
You know, I do. This sounds a little crazy. I do wear them to the range once in a while. If it's going to be where there's going to be a lot of other people shooting, I'll actually put it on just so I'm a little more visible at the range. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but we have multiple ranges you can shoot at. People walking all over the place with firearms. I guess that little bit makes me a little more visible. I have like a camo blaze orange blend one that I bought. They're kind of fun to wear. I can use it for hunting, or I can use it when I'm at the range also. But yeah, and that's the other thing too. Okay, now we're talking about gear real quick because I know we covered this in depth last week, but you don't have to spend a ton of money on camo. Don't go break the bank on it. I mean, if anything, get some just entry level. Get yourself a camo, you know, jumpsuit or coverall set if you don't want to spend $500 or $600 on camo, because you can do that anymore. When you start getting into Gore-Tex and this and that, if anything, maybe just get a camo like shell that you can zip up and wear over a couple different layers. Again, make sure that you try to minimize the amount of stuff you put on you in the morning before you go out in the field, so you're not throwing out a scent. You want to make sure that,
You can also get camo lengths of cloth that you can use as either netting or solid cloth to hide behind too, and those cost like under $50.
Yeah, and you know, the whole idea is if you're going to be getting into it and you spend all this money and you go out and you don't get your deer, we don't want anybody discouraged and not wanting to go back out again because, oh, I've spent all this money and what a disappointment, because, you know, you're going to have your permit fee. You might have a land use fee you got to pay. You might have a state park fee you have to pay to put a sticker in your vehicle. It just kind of depends on what your area is, like what kind of environment you're going to be hunting in. So, and if you know, and the thing is, you might find somebody that you know at work, maybe that's kind of a firearms enthusiast, somebody who does do hunting and stuff. Just ask them, say, hey, when I go, would you be able to go with me in the fall? You know, can you come along with me and kind of show me the basics? 9 times, I would almost be happy to give up an opening day to go with somebody for their first hunt, just to have the experience with them, just to be there to back them up and help them if they're really that unsure about it. I mean, why not? Just have fun, you know? I mean, to me, it's not a big deal. I've got, what, 7 days or 12 days I can go. I mean, there's plenty of, you know, there's plenty of deer out there. So, but yeah, go along with somebody. If they ask you, do, especially if you have experience with it.
I went out and guided on bow hunts, even though I had a bow permit. I didn't like deer that well in the first place. And I had a lot of fun taking guys to places where I'd seen them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would go too, but not on my gun hunt because I only have 7 days to do that.
Your firearm? Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean it. You know, it's kind of like, well, maybe do I want to give up my opening day? I don't know. I'm not sure, but anyway.
Now,
all right,
if it was my grandson or something, that would be a whole different thing.
Yeah. When you talk about you know, family and maybe some close friends that want to go, definitely. See if we have any other questions popping up out here in the chat. I think we're good to go. But it is, guys, it is running live over on Gun Channels, by the way. Now I saved number 16, and for some reason it never saved last time. It was still showing 15, so we're good to go.
Yeah. I wanted to touch a little bit on my reasoning on that, where I start in the middle of the gut instead of top or bottom. And that's, if you're using a knife that's not perfectly suited for what you're doing, which is, because I'm poor, I use whatever the hell I got.
Oh man, butter knife.
No, I actually have a.
I know. Just give me crap.
Use a fork.
You can grab a hold of the fur of the deer and lift it up off of the hide to cut into it, and you don't risk cutting into it too much. And then you start just pushing your fingers up under the skin, and cutting between your fingers.
You get them underneath, and you just start to just kind of slice up like this as you go.
There's no risk of puncturing the actual tissue underneath the skin, which is why I do it the way I do it. I do squirrels that way too.
Yeah. Okay, once you get to that point that it's been gutted and it's been drained, you get it back to your vehicle. If you happen to nick the intestines, I know this is going to sound crazy, but say you don't have access to a garden hose to wash out the inside cavity, you can take it, depending on your vehicle and what you're doing. You could take it to a hand wash, a car wash, and just use the wash part, just the water, to just hose out, spray out the inside of the carcass so that it's sanitary, it's at least clean. So then you could go from there.
That's something we might want to touch a little bit too, because I'm dealing with this particular thing right now. What you're going to do with this deer when you get it back to your vehicle, if you've got a brand new $70,000 Tahoe or whatever SUV it is, are you going to chunk this sucker in the back?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not.
Just get a thick, clear drop cloth from the painting section of your local big box and wrap it in the drop cloth, right?
That ain't a bad idea. I'm going to buy one of them receiver hitch little rack thingies that you put on the back, and just lay it on there.
Just lay it across the back. If you've got like maybe a yard trailer you can legally take on the road, that's not a bad idea. You can go to Dollar Tree and get a $1 blue tarp. What I do in my Jeep is I'll take the blue tarp, like $1 blue tarp, and then I'll take the cable ties, and those corners have rivets of the blue tarp, and I will cable tie those up on the oh crap handles in the back doors of my Jeep, so that's like it's like hanging all the way back to the hatch, like all the way to the rear of the hatch. Then when I throw the deer in, it just kind of pushes up against the tarp and kind of pushes its way in, so you can hang that. Now I can't see out the back window of my vehicle because I got this tarp hanging up, but you could snip it and then wrap it over the deer if you want. So then you just pull the whole thing out when you get done. Yeah, you're going to want something in there because it's going to be draining and leaking, and there's going to be all kinds of bodily fluids all over the inside of your vehicle.
And so, I cannot emphasize enough how bad this thing smells if you've gut shot it or you've done something to damage the intestines.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting experience. If you can keep it outside of your vehicle, Tony, that's a great idea about those little rear racks. You might be able to find one of those like on Craigslist, but you can get one I think at Walmart for like $50. You know, you don't have to spend a lot of money on those, or if you can find one used or use a trailer, or if you have an old pickup truck, that's why you see a lot of vehicles advertised as a hunting rig, you know, because you can throw stuff in the back of it and not worry about making a mess with it. If you have like a bed liner in your pickup truck, you're okay. Just put the deer in there, and then when you go wash your vehicle, you can always spray out your bed liner later on.
Also, blood is corrosive.
Very.
You know,
Very
so don't be
corrosive.
getting blood all over your gun and stuff, or it's not a good idea to get it on the paint job of your vehicle either, but that's not as critical as like a gun.
Yeah. Hey, real quick here, we got a $10 super chat from Garage Guns. Thank you, Garage Guns. I appreciate that. That'll make up for the demonetization that happened to me on the Get Jonas a concealed carry permit video. Garage Gun says
$2 a piece.
Hey, there we go. I will be forwarding you guys through PayPal, right? Well, I tell you what, here's what I'll do. AWAG, if you buy that bulk carrier group from me that we were talking about, that Anderson, I'll use this $10 for shipping, and then that'll offset it so you won't have to worry about paying for shipping. How's that?
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll just put it towards you, man. That'll make it easier for you. Now, Garage Gun says, camo is not needed. I shot mine on the back porch in my underwear and flip-flops. You know, that's funny you said that, Garage Guns, because we have a lot of people out here that have cabins on the Platte River, and they're outside of town, and there are people that literally just walk out of their cabin, boom, shoot Bambi, drag it back to their cabin, and do the work right there. I've got a friend that has a cabin on an island on the Platte River, and they literally just in your pajamas, man, he grabs a rifle, walks out on the front porch, just sits there in a chair, shoots it when it walks by, takes it back to the garage and processes it. So yes.
I touched on this last time, but
yeah,
what deer see more than the solid pattern is movement. You know, so if you're out there with your great camo on, unless you're in a Gahuli suit, and you're moving around, they're going to see you whether you're in camo or not. So yeah, he's right. Camo is not necessarily if you can remain still enough.
Yeah. I mean, I don't sound weird, but you could be wearing nothing at all and shoot it off your porch, you know? I don't know what's going with that one, but anyway, no, that's true because they're so used to they're so acclimated to what moves naturally in their environment, and they're so used to their environment that when there's something unnatural moving towards them, a silhouette, that they know that's cause for warning. So I can understand that part too, definitely.
I hate dragging up last week's chat again, but
no, go ahead, man. It's there's a lot of important information there. This is part two, man. It's all related. Go ahead.
If we're getting questions along that lines, I feel the need to redress some stuff. So that's where I'm going, you know. That's a lot of the stuff about scents is way overblown. I mean, just bathe yourself and don't use a deodorant soap and have clean clothes. And if you're worried about the scent of the clothes, hang them outside in the breeze for a while.
Especially if you first buy it, because all that processing and finishing crap that's on clothing when you buy it, the nylon and the threads, all that's going to give off a plasticky odor that the deer may detect. So let your coat hang outside, take your coat, throw it out back, bury it in leaves, let it get a natural kind of odor absorbed into it.
I have a cousin that's deep into bow hunting, and he's tried everything, every new hot item out there. And the best thing he found for his clothing was when he got done with his season, he stored them, washed them, and stored them with apple cinnamon instant oatmeal.
Like just filled the pockets with them, or opened a packet and sat that in the pockets, or what?
Put all his clothes in one of them plastic totes in a garbage bag, and then dumped a couple of packages of apple cinnamon oatmeal. And when he got them out the next year, he just shook it out and wore them.
How would you even think to do something like that, man? I mean, that is insane. I mean, I if it works, great. I just would never in my right mind think to do. I mean, cool, man. That could be the new thing now, right?
Well, right mind is key to this situation, I suppose.
I don't know. AWAG, you want to chime in on camo at all? Is there anything you want to say?
When it comes to camouflage, try to take, well, coming from what I enjoy doing is, especially with, it's weird because even though you don't really need camo for this, it's really cool to see some people's camouflage with the F-class, not so much F-class, but like the PRS style like hard target interdiction courses, that kind of stuff with your large caliber guns, people put like all kinds of camouflage on it. And some of the people that I talk to about their camouflage, they're like, "Oh yeah, sometimes I go hunting with this 300 Weatherby Magnum," and the camouflage on that thing is incredible. It's the guy's like, "Yeah, I just went out in the woods for like a few days, just took a bunch of pictures of all the like foliage and life I could think of or see in the general area." And he's like, "Yeah, and I just put it on a template and basically copied it."
Oh wow.
But
I mean, that's
the thing
yeah.
with camo is like if you have a camo one piece coveralls unit or something, you still have this big blob, even though it looks like leaves and sticks and whatnot. It's still this one big solid blob moving.
Mm-hmm.
So they can key in on that. Now
Mm-hmm.
the sniper suits, ghillie suits, whatever the hell they call them, those are pretty advantageous because that lets the exterior of your outfit move in the breeze.
Yeah.
You watch how they do it. They're not up walking around. They're crawling on their freaking bellies, hiding as much of themselves as they can.
And what some people don't know is that the ghillie suit was actually, I don't know what it was, but it was either some sort of Scottish hunting suit. It originally started out as.
Yeah. And even with that super high tech or well thought out camouflage, they still expose as little of themselves as possible because the movement is the giveaway.
Yeah. Another thing about camo, I've been seeing this a lot on YouTube lately. There's companies now that are basically using cameras and digital technology. When they create their camo, they view it with the camera using a certain set of filters that supposedly is supposed to mimic deer sight, the same color spectrum that somehow they know this color spectrum that deer can recognize. And so they're designing their camo to see like a deer sees so that you're going to be invisible to that deer. And I mean, it's just amazing the stuff that's coming out these days. I mean, me back in the day, it was just mossy oak breakup or real tree. You know, we've got a lot of the prairie camo out here, which is kind of like you see a lot of cattails on the camo. It's tan with like dried grass and stuff. So you might want to kind of get out in that environment a little bit that you're going to be hunting in, so that you're going to be choosing a camo that looks more natural to that environment. But Tony, again, it's like you said, it's movement. It's the silhouette that they know is not supposed to be there. Yesterday's Pomade made a great little comment over here on the gun channel side. He said, when you walk in the woods while it's dark, use a walking stick to help cover the sound of your walking. Bipedal movements are natural in the woods so that it alerts them. So if you had a walking stick, you'd have 3 noises instead of 2. And then he continues to say that the only 2-legged critter in the woods is that damn Sasquatch, which is probably us. So that's a
damn good point too. Thanks yesterday.
Yep. Yeah, I mean you never thought about that, especially if you're going to be moving through an area that you know is thick. You don't want to alert them before you even get to your spot, you know. Also, another thing, this is stuff we forgot to talk about last week. I mean, it's all going to lead to where we're going. Make sure you know the area you're going to. Make sure you tell somebody where you're going to be. Go out there a couple times before you go to your stand or your shooting area, because you're going to be navigating that possibly in the dark, and you could use a low light if you need to, or a certain color light if you need to, so you can see the trail you're walking on. But you're going to be carrying a gun, some gear, a backpack. You don't want to trip over a fallen tree that you didn't realize was there. So do go out there and just kind of scout your area so you're familiar with the trail that you're going to be using, just in the name of safety. I mean, that's the important thing. And always make sure you leave information with somebody as to where you're going to be. So keep that in mind
this year's my first time deer hunting, and I'm hunting on private property, 2 different people. One of my buddies who's not into gun channels and one of my buddies who is on gun channels. And I've been to both of their farms, but I haven't been all over their farms. So tomorrow I'm going to the one that lives closer. We're going to his property that's further down the road where he has tree stands set up, and we're going to walk the whole thing, and he's going to show me where the stands are and show me, which way you can fire, what to do, depending on how the wind's blowing, that sort of thing, where there are other houses, don't fire in this direction, don't fire in that direction, that sort of thing. And just give me an idea of where maybe he's got deer before in the past and that sort of thing, as opposed to me just showing up the night before, getting up early in the morning before the sun comes up,
just going down there and having no idea, and him just going climb up that tree stand, and I have no idea. It's not a good idea to just go in there blind. There are some hunters who all year long go out to the areas where they hunt. They have trail cams all year long, or they just hang out in the woods and watch and get to know where the deer are at, and they're really, really into it. They're really, really dedicated. I'm not that dedicated.
Squib, I would suggest that when you start walking out, you videotape that trip so you can rewatch it a couple of times, because your orientation gets really screwed up when it's dark.
Okay, I got lots of storage room on this phone, so I'll do that. Thank you.
I also buy some of that neon orange trail tape that they sell that you just wrap it around the trees, like at eye level. You wrap a little band around the tree, and then you just walk on to the next one, wrap a band like 25 or 30 yards away, depending on how far you got to go. So that way you basically have a little Hansel and Gretel trail right back to your vehicle. Especially if it's an area you're not familiar with. Now, me, I just go on the sound of the cars going by. Eventually, I hit the interstate, so I never have to worry about getting lost. But yeah, AWAG, what's up?
What something would be easier, instead of tying something around the tree, you you try to find like blaze and thumbtacks, and you just put them at eye level. That way, you just stick it and move on.
Yeah, there you go. Just whatever you can do. So again, these are just little things you need to take into consideration when you're doing this. All right, so let's take it back now to the whole gutting process. Let's say this is done again. Watch the videos, all the detail. You'll need everything you need to know. You get it back to your vehicle, you get it home. Consider getting yourself a pulley and some decent rope, and then you can also get just like a lot of your farm supply stores sell these, or even Walmart, kind of like a cast iron triangle that's got hooks on it. That's gonna have a loop on it that you can wrap around your rope. And then from there, go ahead, Tony.
I actually would suggest you get the little pulley set up and take it with you while you're hunting, so you can get the deer out there.
You want to do it out there too? Yeah,
I would. It's a lot easier to deal with the mess if you can hang it up instead of kneeling down into it.
Yeah, it's however you want to do. I do mine in the garage, so that's why it's never been. I mean, I throw down a big tarp and just do it right there, and all the mess goes right there. But no, that's perfectly fine too. No, that's you can quarter it right there if you want to. Take a pulley with you.
Just field dressing. I mean, I would look up to field dress it there, and that way you're not kneeling down.
Yeah,
it's it's messy.
Mm-hmm. Once you start to cut the hide off, and again, the video that I put the link for, again, they show the whole process of doing that. It takes a lot of hand strength. It takes a fairly decent and really sharp, nice sized knife as you pull down the cape and you start to take that off. And you're going to be getting hair all over the place too. And what I do is I essentially skin it and then use a hacksaw and quarter it and cut off some of the fine pieces with a knife when I get done. And then I have a couple tubs of salt water that I just fill up with water and just sea salt or iodized salt, and I drop the quarters in there to dunk them. I have a dunk tank, and then I have a wash tank, and then after that, I decide if I want to take the meat off at that point and trim off all the fat and the sinew, or if I want to leave it as quarters, wrap it up, and then take it to a game processing area. Because that's another thing we need to talk about. If you got it gutted and you can take it to a place that's going to do it for you, a lot of times if you quarter it yourself, it's going to be a lot cheaper to just take the quarters to that place if you want to get it processed into jerky or some kind of burger or sausage or salami, right? Summer sausage. Some places will just take the whole deer, all right? Now, the couple things you need to know is it could be almost as expensive to get that done as it would be to just go to the Cabela's and buy 25 or 35 pounds of summer sausage. I mean, when it's all said and done, you want to call around and make sure you have a place to take it if you're not going to handle the quartering and the trimming and the cutting at home, because that's a whole nother process also. Now you're looking at maybe getting a grinder to grind up the meat. You're going to be looking at having stuff to make jerky at home, which you can do in your oven. If you have like a KitchenAid, your wife has a KitchenAid stand mixer, you can get a sausage stuffer for it so you can make your own sausage. And we'll talk about recipes here in just a little bit. We kind of want to get off into that area, but once it comes time to quarter it, once the skin is off and you quartered it, you got to decide what you're going to do. All right.
Now we're skipping something here.
Go right ahead, Tony.
For one thing, when you get it field dressed and get it home, you need to hang it up and let it cool out.
Yeah.
And perhaps even age a couple of days if you have the weather to do so, or a way to do it where you don't have to worry about the meat spoiling. Otherwise, you can take it to a processor and they'll hang it.
Yeah, if you've got a nice garage you can hang it in and it's going to be dropping down into freezing, you're going to be looking at 32 degrees or below. You can let it hang for the weekend, and then Monday night when you get home from work, you can do your work on it. You can start to cut off the fur if you want to, or you can cut that off ahead of time. So
it will taste considerably better if you hang it for 2-3 days.
Yeah. Give it a chance to dry out and age, and then you can trim off all of that aged meat if you want to. So yeah, that's definitely, I'm already jumping ahead thinking of what you can do once you quarter it. And then after that, you can quarter if you want to. You could use a Sawzall, you could use a hacksaw, pretty much whatever you want. But again, you want to be careful when you're doing that, especially if you're using a sharp knife. You need to pay attention, turn your phone off, just be careful what you're doing. Last thing you want to do is you want to slice yourself open while you're trying to cut off the hide. I tend to use some fairly large butcher knives to hack down the coat, okay, the fur.
You especially don't want to cut yourself with a bloody knife.
Oh God, no. Yeah. You'll be looking at some really fun infections there. So yeah. Yeah.
Now I've never gone past the actual field dressing part of it because I've never got a deer that I took home for myself because I didn't like it.
It's a whole weekend, man. It's a whole day's worth of work. I mean, when you really get down to it, especially if you don't do it a lot, if you do it by yourself, by the time you get everything set up, you get it hung, you let it dry out for the weekend, you come home and start taking the skin off, and then you want to trim off all the sinew, you want to trim off all the fat, you quarter it and then trim it down. And then from there, you got to decide what you're going to do with it. Are you going to leave it as steaks? You're going to make fillets out of it? Are you going to take a meat grinder and do 50-50 mixed with burger or pork and make some sort of sausage or salami out of it? So it's worth it in the end. It is worth it in the end, but it's not an easy process the first time.
There's something that you just kind of skimmed over that I want to point out, and it's one of the things I thought about, and that's if you're not the hugest fan of venison, you can take venison and grind it up like a hamburger and mix it with the lower grade hamburger, the 73 27 hamburger, and come out with a fairly lean ground meat that is so similar to just ground beef that you don't particularly notice the difference.
All right, now let's get into the food chat. let's get past the laborious task and the hard work, which you need to study on and you can do yourself. Let's talk about the meat. We have the meat. All right, so Tony, we're talking about doing a nice grind. Get yourself a meat grinder, which you can pick them up sometimes at garage sales, or you can find them. Depending on how you want to do it. So Tony, we got the ground beef mix. There's a lot of recipes online you can find. Tony, what else do you recommend? Do you have anything else? Like, what if talk about the steaks themselves?
That depends on the age of the deer, but you can do it oftentimes like you do beef roast. And if you want to look on YouTube for recipes for lesser quality beef roasts that tend to be tougher that you want to deal with, those are good for venison. One thing that you can always do with any meat actually is use the oven bag. Those work really well for really pushing flavor into the meat.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's going to be sealing in all the steam and it's going to be sealing in all the juices.
Onions are your friend, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of garlic, but onions and garlic and other rather aromatic spices that are used with beef roast. About any recipe you cook beef with, you can use on venison. It's pretty similar, except venison's considerably leaner.
Hey, Midnight Range, if you're there, Travis, if you can talk to us, do you have any suggestions for the venison at all? What's something that works for you every time? Do you have any experience?
Yeah. I used to hunt when I was a kid.
All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's good. It's okay. It's a little quiet, but we're good.
Okay. I used to hunt when I was a kid. I used to eat venison. I still love venison. If you go to my channel right now, check out that meatloaf video. That's a bison meatloaf that's You could substitute anything for that. And venison, and bison are very, very similar. That's what I would tell you to start with. It's going to take a lot of the gaminess out of it. If you're not necessarily a fan of the meat, like Tony said, he doesn't like it all that much. It could be a little strong for him. So that's a great way to start. And then, I have some stuff written down just as maybe some tips and pointers if you want me to just run down a few things. Or
go ahead. We need to do it. We want people to enjoy the meat, especially if it's the first time out there in the field or if they just want some new ideas. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, what's up, man? Go ahead.
It's not so much recipes that I want to talk about. It's more like sort of techniques and things that you need to think about when you're dealing with a leaner cut of meat. Tony talked about grinding a little bit. If you grind yourself, or if you have the ability to tell your butcher how to grind it, don't let them grind it too small. When you grind meats too small, especially lean meats, they tend to be more dense, and that's going to make them seem tough when you cook them. You want a little bit like a medium grind, and that's going to leave a little bit of air pockets in it. It's going to give you a more tender mouthfeel. I said mouthfeel in the burger or whatever you're using. One of the things here in PA, just because you guys were talking about taking it to a butcher, right now in PA we have to take it to a certified place because we're dealing with chronic wasting disease.
Oh, yes.
So you cannot do it yourself. You actually have to take it in so that they can check it. They have to check the brain, I think. Make sure
just for restaurant use or for personal consumption?
No, personal. Yeah, that's honey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Okay. I get it, but yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, some deer got out that were kept in a pen, and they tested positive for it. They got out, and it's become an issue now. They found one a couple of months ago. Somebody shot one, and they found it. So it's a big problem here, or it could become a big problem.
What's your thoughts on soaking? I've heard, and I've never tried it. I've heard you can soak like deer roast in milk or vinegar, either one.
People have said that. I don't, because I love the flavor. I want as much of the flavor as I can get. So I have heard that. That's an old timer thing. You know what I mean? But especially with like livers and stuff like that, they've always said that. Soak it in milk overnight or 2 days. I would imagine just because of, I'm going to get scientific here, just because of osmosis, anytime you would soak it in a neutral liquid, it would draw some of the minerals out of it. And one of the things with really dark meats is the iron content. That's what people taste, and I would imagine that would work. I think scientifically that's probably what's going on, is you're drawing out a lot of the minerals. Yeah. As with any meat, make sure you guys are cutting stuff against the grain when you're slicing something. If you do break your deer down and you're getting like the tenderloins out of them, which are super, super lean, you have to be careful, and you go to slice them, make sure you're slicing against the grain. It's always going to make whatever you're doing seem a little more tender. If you do chops or steaks, obviously steaks you want to cut against the grain. You talked about just another term to throw out there. You talked about the sinew in the restaurant. In the restaurant term, or in the restaurant, whatever it's called, the silver skin. We'll call it the silver skin.
Yeah.
Just to throw that out there in case anybody gives a shit about food. Now my meatloaf recipe, I wrapped it in bacon. Travis, you might do a screen share for something for me, okay? Look up caul fat, C-A-U-L, caul, and screen share that. Bacon wrapped is great, adds a lot of flavor. That's what I did with my meatloaf, and you can't really go wrong with bacon, right? So have at it. But there's also this fat, it's called caul fat, C-A-U-L. It's also called, I think they call it,
Can you see it right now?
There you go, yeah.
That's it? Okay, I got it. Okay.
That is the stomach lining of a cow. Generally, they use cow. And it's a super, super thin membrane that has these basically it's almost like marbled membrane. So it's got fat marbling.
Menudo.
It's really, really awesome. And it's an old school chef trick. I don't use it here, but I have in the past. for cuts of meat that tend to dry out a little bit or that are leaner, you just literally, you can sear them, wrap them in that, and then finish them in the oven. And that just kind of melts down over top of it, and it keeps it really nice and moist.
How about that?
I've never looked at it, looked to buy it as a civilian, a non-chef. But I would imagine you can find it somewhere now. I mean, butcher shops would have it. Possibly even meat markets with a big meat department might be able to have it or get it for you. But that's a big deal. That can really, really, really make the product a lot nicer at the end. Don't overcook it. I know you're supposed to cook things to safe temperatures, 165 or whatever. If that's the kind of person you are, great. If not, and you want to cook it well, or don't cook it well. If you do cook it well done, get a thermometer and check it. Do yourself a favor. If you want to cook it well done, cook it to well done, but don't overcook it. Bring it to like 155 degrees or so, and then let it carry over a little bit, and it'll be safe to eat, and it's not going to be as dry. As far as cooking goes, there's two ways to look at food as far as cooking, especially leaner cuts. You got high and fast or low and slow. And this is where the recipe kind of stuff comes into a little bit more. Things like filet, steak, like a ribeye or New York, even a sirloin. High and fast. You cook it in a pan, bring it up, or char grill it on your grill. Get a nice sear on the outside and let it finish over to whatever temperature you want. Let it rest before you slice anything. You should always let a piece of meat rest for at least 2 minutes. If it's smaller, if it's larger, more like 4 or 5. And it gives a chance for the natural juices to redisperse through the product, and you're going to get a gorgeous, nice moist product rather than it running all over your board or your plate when you cut it. So high and fast versus low and slow. High and fast, searing, char grilling, stuff like that. Low and slow, braises, stews, sear it in a pan, cover it in liquid, throw it in the oven. Crock pots, pressure cookers are low and slow. So
what about smoking?
Smoking is a low and slow. Yep, low and slow. You can cold smoke versus hot smoke. Hot smoke is usually quicker, and then a lot of times you'll finish it somewhere else in the cooking process. Cold smoking really is like one of those things where it's under 120 degrees, I believe. I don't remember my temperatures on the spot here, sorry. But usually that's one a lot of times that you'll just have to finish it real quick afterwards. And then, there's temperatures all in the ranges too, depending on what you want. But smoking generally I consider a low and slow, especially with like ribs or something like that. And you got to remember, every part of the deer is just like a cow. It's just smaller. So if you have the ability to get your butcher to do venison ribs, venison chops, do it. Let them. If you want to have fun with it, do it. It's probably uncommon for people to ask for stuff like that, I would imagine, because a lot of times they just scrape that, and it's pricey. You're going to pay extra, but if you're the kind of dude that's really into it, like I would be, if I still hunted, I'd be telling that son of a bitch to cut me, hey, give me some racks, where a lot of people don't do that anymore. So the low and the slow is going to tenderize. It's going to build flavor. It's going to keep it moist, and you're looking at more of a, like pulled beef or something is going to be a low and slow, but you can also do that with like the short ribs and leave it whole, maybe do a nice glaze on it or something. We talked about bacon wrapped. Marinades. I tend to like sweeter marinades with venison and things. Burgundy is a big fan. I'm a big fan of that. My lamb racks, fresh thyme, salt, pepper, and a little chili flake, and I'll let it sit overnight. Overnight's fine. Especially smaller cuts will absorb it pretty good, pretty fast. It's a lot faster than you think.
Real quick.
One more.
Oh, go ahead.
Go
Go ahead. I want to touch on the prices here. Somebody's asking a question about that, but go ahead and continue. I'll let you finish out, and then we'll.
I got one quick thing, and it's a little on the fancy side. Okay. Well, it's not, but the technique is. You see it in higher end places. It's called sous vide. SOUSVIDE. It's a French term. And basically, you're cooking in a lot of. Okay, so back in the day, I remember being up at camp with my grandpa, and we had like the boiling bag, meals, like TV dinner kind of things, where you literally, it was like a vacuum sealed pouch, and you just threw it in water and boiled it. That's basically what sous vide is. You can do it yourself if you have a vacuum sealer. I have a vacuum sealer here at the restaurant. I don't do it at the restaurant, but I could. And basically, you vacuum seal the meat. You can sear it ahead of time if you want to, or grill it, or whatever. Or if it's a piece of fish, you just put it in raw with whatever marinade, and sometimes even the veggies and stuff in it. You vacuum seal it, and then you just cook it in a liquid. Water, I should say water, because nothing permeates the plastic to add any flavor, so you don't have to add anything to the water. And usually you keep it at like 140 or so degrees, and it's super, super gentle. It sucks in all the moisture, all the marinade, and it keeps it super, super moist. So it's not something that the average Joe has probably ever done. But when you're looking at like a tenderloin, or something like that, a venison, marinate it, grill it just a little, on the outside until it's rare, vacuum seal it, and throw it in a poaching liquid until you feel like it's done. And it's very hard to overcook it too. It'll hold up very well if you want it well done, or if you want it medium rare, whatever. And that technique is super, super real. I mean, it just adds it holds in all the moisture. It's really awesome. All right, my skill is done.
If you're cooking it for the first time, man, you got to do it the right way. Take some time and do some research on how you want to prep it, and how you want to cook it. Because the last thing you want to do is have something that just tastes like shoe leather, and you're like, God, I went out and did all this effort for this. There's so many delicious ways you can enjoy it.
Now, is there another thing when it comes to actually killing the deer? If you basically wound it, doesn't that make the adrenaline run through everything and basically just ruin the meat?
I think it's basically the same thing that happens with runners. They talk about lactic acid building up in the muscles. I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. I know I've always heard stories too about guys that have shot deer on the run, or maybe you're sitting at a field or something, and next thing you see this buck hauling ass across a field. You take the shot and you kill it. I've heard that stress of them for however long they were running can really affect the meat quality.
Huh?
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Doubt it. Just real quick, guys, we do have a super chat. Martin Korf, $5. He said, I only hunt milfs and cougars. And then Sean chimed in and said, LOL, I hunt chicks and foxes. Not much luck, though. And then Martin said, I'm too old for those. So, Martin, I'm sorry to hear that. So I understand why you focus on that particular game out there in the wild. So, so Martin, thank you for the super chat on that. We did have, what's that?
I said he ain't dead.
There you go. There you go. Exactly. Just make sure you don't wear blaze orange, Martin, because you don't want the cougars to spot you before you spot them. So,
did you say Martin Gore, as in
Korf.
Gore?
No. Korf. Korf. He's got the predator. He's got the predator icon.
Okay.
Thumbnail. Yeah.
Martin I thought Korf. You were talking about a musical artist.
No, man. I have no idea. No. Sean's got a great question here, and I want to get this up so we can talk about the cost. Sean says, what does a butcher charge to process the meat after it's been field dressed? And I'm glad you asked that question, because I actually found this is kind of the average price that I see. Now, this is a place that's in Dublin, Texas. And again, I'm not endorsing him or anything, but this is what I would recommend. This is going to give you a good idea what you're looking at. So this is Clay's Deer Processing in Dublin, Texas. All right. I've actually been to Dublin a couple times. I'm just not familiar with this place. Basic processing to bring it in is $85. You drop off the gutted deer. Well, it doesn't say gutted or not, but I'm assuming you would have it gutted by this point. They'll take care of the skin, the quartering, and begin the processing. So $85 to get you started. Can you guys see this document on your screen? Can you guys all see that out there? Tony, can you see that?
I can, but I wasn't really looking. I was watching the chats.
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. So $85 to get you started, and then you can really specify if you want it tenderized, if you want trimmings to make your own stuff at home. Then you get into like sausage, and they charge $4 a pound for bratwurst links. Sweet Italian links, $4 a pound. If you want them hot, they're $4.50 a pound. So $4 a pound. I mean, that's what you would pay in some supermarkets for, say, a package of Johnsonville brats, right? If you want,
you're bringing your own meat.
What's that? Yeah.
You're bringing your own damn meat.
You know, this is kind of one of those things where you can do this at home, but you might be looking at a little bit of an investment in materials and gear and equipment to get that done at home if you don't want to mess with it. So you're basically looking at when it's all said and done, you're probably looking at probably $100 for what? No, $200 for 50 pounds when it's all said and done. Is that right? I'm trying to do the math here. 5 pounds would cost you $20.
Well, the other thing to consider is he's got a cooler to hang this deer up in. If the weather is not cooperating, I've heard hunters complain about this global warming that I don't believe in, that it's just way too warm in the fall, not like it used to be back in the old days, and you've got to get a deer cooled down and that sort of thing. And if you're talking about hanging it for a few days to enhance the flavor of the meat, well, the butcher's going to have the facilities to do that. You may not have that in your garage or pole barn or something like that.
Here's something I really like about it, and this is what's cool down here at the bottom. I mean, I don't want to change the topic, but $85 for processing, and then for $38, you can drop the deer off. Let's just say you can't use it, or you don't want it, or whatever, or you're simply doing it for this cost. For $35, they will do everything and distribute it to feed the hungry. So if there's like a local shelter or soup kitchen, they'll actually drop it off. So if you want to do something charitable, say you got two permits, but you only need enough meat for one, you got a second deer you're stuck with, you don't want to drop $200 in processing, you don't want to mess with it, $38, they will take care of it, and you know that the meat's not going to go to waste. So that is, I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share, but that's pretty much what you're looking at. You might be looking at an investment of, say, $200 if you're going, 50 pounds worth of meat. So you're looking at basically $4 a pound, not counting the $85 processing fee. Maybe they give you a discount if you quarter it and take it in. I don't know. But you need to definitely contact these places before you do that, so you kind of know what you're getting yourself into for price. Because, again, we don't want that deer hunt to turn into like a $400 weekend. You know, that's not the idea. Yeah. That
listing assumes that you're bringing in a deer.
Yes. Because it says $85 for skinning and quartering. Yeah. Which they could probably do one deer in 5 minutes if they have the equipment for it, but it's their store, it's their place, so yeah.
That's probably a little high for what we have around here. I think you can get most of the stuff done, except for making brats and shit out of it. But I mean, I think you can get a deer done for $100.
Yeah. If you do decide to go ahead and do it at home on your own, another thing to consider is you're going to want some seasonings and spices. Don't fall into the pitfall where you go buy a bunch of expensive mixes, like say you go to Cabela's and they got a $10 bag of summer sausage seasoning mix. It's enough to make one roll. Go buy bulk spices and get some recipes online. Like go to your local Costco or Sam's Club and buy bulk spices. If you're going to be doing a lot of meat, you're going to do like say 25 pounds of summer sausage or 15 or 20 pounds of jerky. Go make your own spice mixes. I mean, in my opinion, it's much more cost efficient than, and don't go buy 20 of those little $1 cans at your Walmart. Go get big bulk spices at your local food supply store, restaurant supply store.
Something else to consider is to
either guy. Yeah, Tony.
You don't have to do the whole damn works at one time. You can freeze ground up deer and then try a recipe. And if you don't like that one, you've not just put 60 pounds of the stuff away that you don't like.
Hey, Travis, what's up?
Yeah, I was going to say too, with the spice stuff, cost-wise, it's pretty brutal to have to buy the stuff pre-made. But if you make friends with somebody that's a good cook, maybe a chef on YouTube, he could help you out with making something. You know what I mean? Coming up with your own spice blend.
Yeah, I mean, definitely consider buying in bulk because it's where you can spend $4 and get 8 ounces of garlic powder, but you can spend $4 and get 4 ounces of garlic powder. I mean, you can, if you go to your warehouse super clubs, superstores, you can get really good deals on bulk supplies and seasoning and things like that.
Hey, other Travis, do you know any of those by chance?
I'm sorry, I was across the kitchen. What happened? What's the matter?
Nothing. I'm just poking at you.
I didn't hear it. What did you say I missed?
I said, did you know any of those internet chefs by chance?
Yeah, there's some asshole out there. I can't remember his name now. I think he's on that gun web channel site thing. I don't know.
I thought you were making fun of me because I tend to do food reviews and they're pretty amateur. So yeah, tactical tuna, and Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage, and
tactical tuna.
And coconut sprinkles on donuts.
Have you watched my video on that, Travis? The tactical tuna, the Starkist tactical tuna pouch. Go watch it. It's awesome, man. I love it. It's good. They sell Starkist tuna in heavy duty durable camouflage packages, so you can take it with you out in the field.
Urban MREs, baby.
Basically, yeah, that's what it is. And then Jimmy Dean also makes dehydrated, edible, right out of the bag breakfast links, which are awesome, and bacon. I mean, I know you can get dehydrated bacon and stuff, but this is like, it comes in jerky pouches. It's really good stuff.
There's nothing like ripping open a bag of tuna in the woods to tell deer that this don't freaking belong here.
Hey, at least it's camouflage and it'll blend in with your ghillie suit. Okay, that's what's most important. So,
Tony, didn't you know that deer is tuna of the woods?
So does that make it chicken of the forest, or?
Yeah, I was about to
Instead of
say,
chicken
you
of the
make
sea?
a company, chicken of the forest.
I guess it would be squirrel. Squirrel is probably tuna of the woods.
Canned ground venison.
But that does bring up a good point. If you're sitting there all day and you want to have a snack, recently I was talking with a guy at the store, and he said eat apples. They love apples, and you can eat apples all day long.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. My that was always what we did was take like 2 or 3 apples out with us, for sure.
Take out a donut with sprinkles and coconut, because that'll definitely lure them into. And then that way, you can make sure that another donut with coconut and sprinkles does not get consumed by human beings.
No, you got to get a donut that's cinnamon apple.
Yeah. Apple cinnamon oatmeal donut.
Yeah, apple fritters, but they love corn too. Maybe you could eat apples and cornbread.
Yeah.
Apples and cornbread would be good.
Real quick here, guys, we got some good advice from Gary Decker out in the chat. Buy a food dehydrator to make jerky. I recommend a food dehydrator over an oven. They're just more contained. They're easier to use. You can only do so much at a time, but they're so nice because they really do control the moisture and the evaporation. And then you can do several pounds at a time, and try High Mountain Jerky seasoning. It's great. Gary, if you can chime in on that, where would you buy that at? Is that at like a sporting goods store, or is that just at your Walmart? Because I know that like Cabela's has a whole section of jerky and summer sausage seasoning that you can look at that they sell. So if you get a chance, Gary, let us know where you buy it. I'm sure you can buy it online, but if somebody could get it locally, they might want to try it in the next week or two.
I would like to put a public service announcement out there, though, that Gary Decker, number 1, loves chicken gizzards, and number 2, almost died from food poisoning because he eats gas station meat sticks.
Oh, I do that all the time, dude. I grew up on, look at me, man. I grew up on gas station sandwiches and beef sticks and the stuff, those little hot dogs on those rollers that never get sanitized.
Oh, God.
Gizzards are good.
Oh, see, I will eat anything. 2 things I can't. I would eat it if I had to, but chicken gizzards or turkey gizzards, they're just like little nodules of gristle. The breading is good, but that's the only good part. And then like chicken livers, I mean, I don't mind liver. Beef liver's fine, but chicken livers, I'm just like, God, I can't. I've tried getting used to gizzards.
All it is, you deep fry it, you bread it and you deep fry it, and it's just a really chewy chicken nugget.
Oh, it's just
I do not.
I will take my fried Oreos any day, but I do not do gizzards.
Love you, Gary.
So anyway, I know that's nothing to do with deer, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't think God intended for us to eat entrails.
Next, you're going to say okra doesn't taste good because it's slimy. Oh, whatever.
Hey, real quick, Gary says that he can get that seasoning. Walmart has some of it. Some grocery stores stop by the meat section. Yeah, sometimes you find those little spice pouches like over by the fresh cuts of meat in the cases. They're like hanging up on little side clips and end caps. You don't necessarily find them in the spice aisle, which is pretty cool. Oh, car carrier's about to vomit. I think the gizzard talk got him a little bit nauseous this morning too.
Okra and gizzard.
I don't mind. I love fried okra, dude. I love fried okra. Like at a barbecue joint. Oh, fried okra is so good. Now, pickled beets, I cannot do pickled beets, and that and gizzards are like the only two things I won't eat in terms of food. I mean, I'm not picky, but
you can deep fry anything and it'll make it taste good.
maybe I'll try
Have you ever had pickled
beets.
eggs?
Oh yeah. When you go to bars and stuff, they have the Ipsy brand has a little gypsy on the bottle. They have or the jar. They have Ipsy pickled eggs and what is it? Pickled pig's feet, pickled pig's ears.
I'll tell you, if you want to do something really good, if you like pickled eggs, big Pennsylvania thing is red beet eggs. Have you guys ever seen those?
No, no.
Oh,
awesome. I get them at the farmer's market all the time here.
Awesome.
Oh,
yeah, you take a hard boiled egg, and then it's just in basically a brine of salt, water, maybe a little sugar, spices, whatever, seasoning, and then red beets, and it turns the whole thing like. Oh, it's so they're awesome. They're like sweet and sour, and yeah, they're really good. Look, that's one, Travis. You want to cook something fun for a picnic or whatever? That's a good one to do. It's straight out of PA.
Hey, after you gut the deer, does anybody recommend rubbing salt inside the carcass, inside the cavity, for preservation purposes, or that's just not a good idea?
I've not ever seen it done by anybody around here. Salt actually starts the cooking process.
Yeah, it'll coagulate the protein. It'll draw out moisture. So, I mean, that's probably not a great idea. Now, if you would salt pack something, you're doing that to preserve for a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what they did in the olden days?
Yeah, you would. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea with, salted meats. I would, if you're just doing it like the everyday person, like you're gonna kill it, skin it, process it a day later or whatever, I can't see that being too beneficial as far as storage goes.
Now, as far as temperatures go, if the outside air temperatures say about 45 degrees, how bad is that? I mean, how quickly do you need to get this thing in and get it started?
Usually anything below 45 I would think is gonna do a pretty good job of holding it. Anything above that, I think we start getting into what they call the temperature danger zone. It's when bacteria grows rapidly. Usually you see in the low 40s, the upper 30s is where you want to keep a refrigerator or something like that. So 45 is on the upper end, probably, of what's considered safe handling, but you've also just killed the animal, so things do go out the window a little bit.
So let's say you don't have a cool enough shed or garage or pole barn or something like that to hang this thing up in because you don't have a walk-in cooler at home. Could you quarter the deer and pack it in multiple coolers with ice and for 3 days and get the same effect as hanging it for 3 days?
If the best thing to do would probably be to put it in some kind of self-draining pan, if you can, inside of a cooler, so it's not sitting in any liquid. You know what I mean? Or leave the ice in the bags. But yeah, that would work good. Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to keep it cool.
The thing with the 45-degree thing is it's meat temperature, not ambient temperature. So if you have a day that gets up to 45 degrees, you're not got that much to worry about because it's not going to be 45 degrees, but for just an hour.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. I mean, the professional in me tells you not to do it, but I'm 100%.
But if you were hanging it in a garage or shed for 3 days after you shot it and gutted it, right, and you just had it hanging there, the maximum temperature, the warmest it got on all of those 3 days was 45 degrees. How bad is that for the meat?
As a non-professional, I would say no problem at all. As somebody that's right, but as somebody that should be telling you what to do, because I'm a professional chef, I would say that it's a little bit higher than it should be. But would I do it? Yeah, I would have no problem doing it for myself. How about that?
I've had squirrels that have laid out for 7 or 8 hours when it was 65, 70 degrees outside, and I didn't even get around to dressing them because I was still hunting, and it never affected them. Granted, that's a much smaller scale, but it's also considerably warmer too.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So we've taken this many different places today. Again, guys, we've talked about the clothing. We've talked about the basic processing, the gutting. Again, check out the link for the video that I put below in the information about this video. I've got a link there you guys can watch. It covers everything from beginning to end, starting with the skinning and gutting all the way up to quartering and taking it from there. If you want to know what to do, it's a good video to watch. I mean, it is very interesting. The guy's very easy to follow. We've covered some recipes today. We've covered a little bit of everything. So I don't know. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. I do need to get going, unfortunately. Tony, we'll start with you. Any final words you want to share with us? Sorry to be so abrupt about it, but yeah.
No, that's fine. Yes, I do.
All right.
Brother Travis skimmed over a point really quickly that is very important, and that is the resting of meat when you cook it. If you read most like roast or brisket or other cuts of meat recipes like that, they want you to rest like a 3 or 4 pound brisket for 15 to 30 minutes before you cut it. Resting is important. And, you know, tune into the early watch Mondays through Friday, whenever the hell it's on in the morning.
There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. And then Night Strike's not here. I didn't give him a call this morning. Usually he will message me, but I've been so busy when I was running errands this morning before we started, I didn't get a chance to call him. So either he's sleeping soundly or he's just busy right now. I know he's a busy guy. So early watch Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Hit or miss. Hit or miss, not early watch.
Oh my God. Early watch Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock. Sorry. Again, I've only had one can of Monster this morning, so I'm still waking up. But
Night Strike is on hit or miss oftentimes, or early watch often. Now you got me doing it. Shit.
So would we have a late watch then possibly?
I don't know.
An early watch and a late watch later at night.
Can we have an early hit? Oh, that sounds bad.
I've only dropped into the hit or miss show one time because it's past my friggin' bedtime because I'm really fucking old. So I don't know.
It's a lot of fun.
Strike's probably sleeping soundly because he's had a bad week.
Why?
Shall not be infringed tirades going on.
Well, it's a week where we've seen our representatives basically betray us. I mean, what else is there to say? You know, they've pretty much let us down, and they've basically given an inch. Now they want to take a foot. You know, we've seen that happen. So I don't blame him. I'm not happy about the whole situation. I mean, they want to go after everything now.
That might be a good topic for a future show here. You know.
I mean, they're going to demonetize my chats anyway, so I'm also talk about whatever. It doesn't really matter at this point. So
how do we react to things like this?
Mm-hmm.
I've asked the question a couple of times now of, you know, at what point do you say this is all I'm going to take? It's time to take up arms. You know, and nobody really wants to come out with that one.
I think when they come to take your guns.
Yeah, I think
when they come to physically pull them out, when they show up at your doorstep with, you know, local military or police at your door. I mean, it's going to get ugly. When it gets to that point, there's going to be somebody that's not going to care because they see themselves as a martyr for the cause, and they're going to light it up, and it's going to get ugly. It's not to get dark in the chat, but it's going to happen as soon as they come to take. I mean, it's one thing if somebody comes and takes it for psychological, medical reasons. There's a doctor says this person's not stable to have a gun. But when your regular, law-abiding citizen is sitting there and, yeah, AR-15s are no longer allowed in this city, in this state. You need to surrender your firearms. You got, 24 hours to turn them in, or we'll come take them.
Yeah, I mean, when they're literally going house to house, door to door, and they've got law enforcement, National Guard, military, that sort of thing, but let's all get real. That's just not going to happen.
I'm sorry, my Constitution supersedes a city ordinance, supersedes a martial law ruling. I'm surprised nothing happened on Katrina. I'm surprised we didn't have people go nuts and start firing during Katrina when law enforcement were going door to door confiscating weapons.
To actually do it on a large scale, on a national scale, or even something as much as the whole county or the whole state or that sort of thing. It's too big of an operation. There's too many people in law enforcement, military said, I'm not turning arms on my own people. I mean, when I was active duty military, they said, we're not here to police our own country. We're here to go abroad to keep the threat from coming over. So now you're only talking about the National Guard, because the mission of the other branches of service isn't for that. That's not to say they can't do relief effort, or they can't build a rec center or something or help out during a disaster situation. But in general, though, you're talking about law enforcement and National Guard. There aren't enough bodies. Not to mention, out of those, how many of those people would say, I ain't going in there? I'm not going in there. I don't know how many guys are in that house that are. I'm not doing it. And you do have the right to refuse an unlawful order, and that would be an unlawful order, Tony.
Even if the military were down with it, they couldn't do it. I'm aware of that. There's just not enough people.
What if they brought the United Nations in?
You've got to be kidding me. It's like the Keystone Cops. I've worked with the United Nations in Somalia and Bosnia. Those guys couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag.
No, but they can pull a trigger backed up by a federal branch. They knock on your door at 3 a.m., got a warrant for your items, bust the door down, breach the door.
This is like all the conspiracy theories. It makes good fiction. It makes good TV and movies and novels. It's fiction. There's nothing wrong with being ready to defend yourself against a government that turns tyrannical and decides they want to overthrow the people or that sort of thing. That's what the Second Amendment's there for, and it totally makes sense. But when you're sitting there going, man, it's a coming, really, you got to really look at the big picture.
There's no
That's all I'm saying.
Short of like China sending every person they got over here, there's no way there's enough manpower to go door to door. I mean, it's just logistically impossible.
I think you'd see a pretty decent number of the populace take up arms just because they know it's time. They don't care. They don't want to be enslaved by it.
Look at the colonials. What did they do? They moved the arms, they hid them, they buried them. They did things to keep the kegs of gunpowder and the weapons away from the redcoats. Now, in some cases, they didn't have enough warning and redcoats came in, blah, 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 blah. But in other cases, they hid them. They moved them around. Some people were jailed because they were accused of being the ones that moved them around and that sort of thing. This is why we have a Second Amendment, because these sorts of things happen. Because the redcoats wanted to disarm the population so they could not rise up against the rule of the king. So that's why it is there. And that's what would happen in a situation like that. Is you would have people, there's no way you could hit every building all at once. And even then, I'm telling you, I could hide stuff inside my work they'd never find, let alone my house or whatnot.
No, let's not be giving away your secrets.
Now, what I'm saying, though, is there's just no way to search every single possible place until they come up with some sort of Star Trek technology that can scan the planet. There's no way to search every single solitary place. And even if they could, there's still people that could make this stuff. There's still ways to bring this stuff in from other countries. Now you're talking about all these NFA items everybody's been complaining about. Now they would be things that people would be getting because they'd be getting them through illegal means. So what I'm saying is it makes great TV and movie and novels. It really does. But the reality of them actually going all down the street with a tank and kicking in every single door going, give me everything or I'm going to tear your house down, it's just not going to happen.
Question here about the Katrina thing.
Yeah.
How many were like me in this and didn't find out about that disarmament part of it until several years later?
Yeah, I never heard anything at all until within the last 5 years. I didn't know. I mean, there was nothing. Yeah. And I was, when that happened, I was watching a lot of network news at the time, and I didn't see anything. I saw a few people defending their homes with their weapons. I saw some law enforcement preventing looters downtown on Bourbon Street, but I didn't,
Yeah, and we talked about this on Oiley's Humble Home a couple months back, and I had no idea. But look at what happened with Sean down in Houston. They actually were using their firearms to defend the National Guard from looters shooting at them. So it can go both ways.
Right.
So I guess it depends on the local government, and I suppose it depends on the kind of people. I mean, it really just depends. I mean, if they were seizing all the firearms because some of the people were looters, that's not right. But on the other hand, I mean, get out and take your guns with you. If there's about to be a national disaster, load them up and get out of there.
The reason I ask that is because do you suppose that that incident, had it become widespread knowledge at the time it occurred, would have rallied some sort of, I don't know, backlash from the gun community? And what
maybe not. It was kind of an isolated area.
What does that say about how the media can hide shit?
Well, yeah, they can be told what to say and what not to say and what not to broadcast and what to broadcast. I mean, it was interesting that it got out this time about the U.S. Virgin Islands, about the mayor coming out or whoever, governor or whatever, saying, "Oh, we're going to confiscate all resources we need for the National Guard to function properly." And then that clown had the gall to come out later and say, "Oh, I never issued that order. I never said it like that."
Hold up. You have to read the order. Read the order. Look at it and read the order. It says if it's necessary to do the mission, they have the right to confiscate it and they have to compensate. So if they're already armed, what do they need your guns for? They don't. But if they need fuel for their Humvee, they can go to the gas station and get fuel for the Humvee. You have to read it. There are all these people that are on our side that are taking it to the nth degree. You've got to be careful. When you take it to the nth degree and spin everything into some sort of conspiracy theory or something like that, you sound like an anti-gunner. You really do.
That's a great point, Scrib, and that's something that I talk about on the Early Watch quite a bit, is holding the tongue until you get the facts.
All the facts, yeah.
Right. When you hear these people talk about us and they vilify us and they say all these things and they don't know the truth and they take something and they run with it, or they shoot something with a shotgun and say this is an AR-15 or whatever it is. They're doing these sorts of things and we catch it. But when we sit here and we rant and we start throwing a fit and shall not be infringed and they're coming for us and all this other stuff, and we start all these conspiracy theories and, what if they come door to door and what we sound like them, just in the opposite way. We do. Yeah. And it doesn't do us any service.
That's not to say that I'm not guilty of that said same thing, because I am, which is why.
Well, we're all going to have an emotional reaction to it. That's just human. You're the first thing you're going to hear is they better not go for them. They better not go to take their guns, because it's already pushing law what they're issuing for gathering resources. I mean, they would need to come take your food and your water and leave you high and dry when they got MREs and they've got tanks of water.
And that's what I mean. That's somebody reading into it and going, see, this means they can do it. They're not going to do that. Okay. You might be able to bend or pervert the order in order to do that. That's fine. That's people taking it to the end. Be reasonable, be rational. These people live there too. These people have family there. These people, the National Guard for the Virgin Islands are people who live they're not from other places. Okay, they are citizen soldiers. Okay, It's the same thing with the sheriff and the police and stuff like that. That doesn't mean there aren't corrupt people everywhere. There are absolutely corrupt people, and there are people who would bend the law for their will. We can see it on every level, all the way down from city council all the way up to the president. Yeah. And it's not. But you really have to start when you start talking about, oh my goodness, they're coming at it. You sound as crazy as an anti-gunner, and it doesn't do any good. But that doesn't mean you can't be vigilant. It doesn't mean you don't pay attention to laws. It doesn't mean you try to do your part to vote in the right people, or to sign the petitions, or show up at the rallies, or to talk to other people calmly. And when you have somebody who knows nothing about guns and they start spouting off what they heard on the news, you calmly explain to them. And then some of them, you can't reach them, but other times they go, oh, I didn't know that. And because they work with you, because they're your relative, because they're your neighbor, they know you, they have a little bit of trust in what you're saying. And especially if you sound articulate and educated when you're saying, don't just start spouting off facts because you heard it on YouTube. Spout off the fact that you know because you've done it. I had the receptionist here say something about, what if somebody decided they wanted to stand on the street with a Stinger anti-aircraft missile and shoot it at the building? I had to explain to her how a Stinger anti-aircraft missile works, because I learned how to use them in the military, and how it's not really gonna, not to mention, how the hell do you even get one of those things, right? But people believe this stuff because they've seen them in a James Bond movie, or they've seen them in the Navy SEALs movie, or and they don't even know what it is or how it works, and that's what I mean. That's the part we have to do. But when we start going on, oh, they're coming, and oh, it's going to be World War III or the Civil War, or whatever, that's when we sound as bad as the people that we're trying to fight against, unfortunately.
That brings us back to the original question, though. What's the line in the sand? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm not saying we need to roll over and give up our rights. I'm not saying that we have, but I'm also saying we don't have to fight every single time. We can, you know, and you know what? It's just my opinion. My opinion is not fact. This is strictly opinion. That doesn't mean I'm right. I have not been on coming on gun channels saying I'm right and you guys are wrong. I just have a different point of view because I used to be, a long time ago, I was pro-gun. But I was also pro-gun control. I could absolutely see a reason for gun control. Now, today, I don't want gun control, but I know how these people think because I used to think like one of them. And what I hear people saying is stuff that only makes them want to do gun control more and makes them want to not listen to us more. And nobody's doing us a favor by all this, you know, oh, do you know that they're gonna ban double action triggers now, or they're gonna take away Jerry Miculek's finger? I know some people are just joking, but some people sound pretty dang serious. And when you're not part of the 2A community and you hear people say this stuff, they suddenly go, see, they're all batshit crazy. Sorry, Travis, I swore on your show.
No,
they're all crazy. And I don't like it when I have somebody here walk past my desk. On my desk is a picture of my wife holding my Henry Big Boy. It's the first time she shot it at the range. And I'm so proud of her for banging away with this 44 Magnum. She loves this rifle. I think she's going to take it from me. But this is my screensaver at work. Now, I've had some people walk by my desk and go, hey, is that a Henry? All right. And then they start a conversation and we get to, you know, trade information. Then I have other people that come by and they look at it and they give me a grimacing, dirty look. Okay. But it's still, this is how I get that out there, though. Look, here's my short little wife holding this big gun, and she's not afraid to shoot it. And she's got her ear pro on, her eye pro. She's got her tag from the DNR that says she paid her fee to shoot at the range and all this other. And this is my way of calmly either bringing up the conversation without going, did you hear that they're gonna ban every single damn thing because of the bump fire? You know, it just turns people away, especially when they don't know the things we know.
This is
the
true.
problem we're facing right now is that the stuff coming down the pike is so damned ambiguous that there is a little bit of validity to that they're going to ban every damn thing theory.
Well, that's true. They've tried doing different bans in the past. It hasn't really worked out for them. That doesn't mean that they couldn't come up with something. But when these people go, see, this, that, and the other, it's going to turn into this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Yes, okay, they talk that. That's politicians talking. They talk that. But when they try adding all this stuff to the bills get bogged down and things like that. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying do your due diligence and stuff. But when you start making it worse, oh, we gotta get everybody fired up. And you know, they're gonna come pretty soon. It's just gonna be there's not gonna be anything left. You really gotta calm down and think about what you're saying here, because so many things have backfired on them. And then I had a bunch of people jump down my throat about, what about all the things that we got back? Yeah, we got back a whole bunch of things. We did. And I hope we continue to get back a whole. I'm not happy that now the SHARE Act is shelved and national reciprocity is shelved because of this incident. That's what we should, I think, in my opinion, we should really be focusing on, is trying to get those things back. That's why I said, if they want bump fire, tell them, okay, you want bump fire? Fine, we'll give them. But you got to pass reciprocity and share. And they go, nope. Okay, well, we tried. Next. And then we go right back to getting reciprocity and share on there. And somebody go, well, we gave up one thing. Yeah, but we got 15 other things. And then we can say, see, we took the moral high ground and we extended the olive branch. When are they going to extend the olive branch? Well, they're never going to extend. Fine. We're always going to be in a moral high ground. You can be the bad guy or you can be the good guy. But that doesn't mean that I'm right about this. There's a lot of people that have a lot of compelling arguments for saying, no, we don't give up a damn thing. And I understand some of that. I'm just saying, when you put yourself in the mind of the people that don't understand the things we understand and that are for gun control, then you start to understand why, okay, if we can give up this useless gimmick that nobody really likes, and then we can gain 15 other things that we all want, and they don't know the difference, and they go home feeling good, because it's all how they feel. It's not about whether or not it works, because we all know gun control doesn't work at all. We know that. They don't know that. It's about their feelings. So that's the only reason I'm saying this stuff. I'm saying just try to put yourself in their shoes. I'm not saying they're right and we're wrong. I am not saying that at all. But these politicians are posturing, they're pandering, and it totally sucks.
Another thing is there's not a real solid argument in favor of bump stocks as far as what
it's a giggle
somebody who's non-gun, and I'm not talking anti-gun, I'm talking about somebody in the middle who's just indifferent, There's not much there to justify the purpose of the damn thing.
Hey guys, continue the discussion. I just need 1 minute. I got to run to the front door real quick. You guys carry on, okay? I'll be right back.
What I'm saying though is, if they go, fine, we'll give you your suppressors and we'll give you your national reciprocity and we'll change it from sporting use to lawful use. If you just give us these dangerous things, and we're all laughing to the bank, going, nobody wanted the damn things anyhow. Fine. But if they go, oh no, we're not going to give you that stuff in return for this, it's all bad. Then they go, okay, we tried. And then at that point, you stand up and you go, fine, nothing. We're not giving up nothing. Then we tried. You didn't want to treat them like a child that wants to negotiate. There's no room for negotiation here. You're the child.
I agree with you there, and I think that was where the NRA was kind of leaning with this when they started with the statement they made. We'll make some sort of meaningless offer and put them in the bad light, but I don't know if they went off the freaking page or what, but.
And I'm not saying that they're superstars and they're heroes. They're not. Look, their interests are their interests, not our interests. Unfortunately, it's like doing business with the devil. We need them. We need other groups. There are tons of people that are pro-Second Amendment that are making money off of this, and they make money off of every tragedy, whether it be from their YouTube channel or whether it be from their gun store or whether it be from their industry, we're making accessories, or whether it be a nonprofit organization like the NRA or any of the other ones. It's just it all comes down to money in the end, just like the politicians. You want their vote, you got to buy them off. Yeah, so unfortunately, it sucks, but it all comes down to money.
That's something that I started saying in the early watch a couple months ago, is that there's no money in the NRA for getting shit done.
And you got to think about these people that are politicians that are anti-gun. How much money do they make? Do you think they don't have money in an investment group, and that investment group has stock in the Freedom Group, or they have an investment group that has stock in a lead mine, or they have an investment group that has stock in a company that makes brass or aluminum or whatever it is? I'm sure they're making money, but what they're doing is they're hiding it. They're hiding it, or the press is not going after it, going, look, they voted for a gun control bill. People started panic buying, and Freedom Group stock went through the roof, and Nancy Pelosi made a whole bunch of money off of her stock in Freedom Group. They're not going to report that.
Obama had Smith & Wesson in his portfolio. Now, he blew it off as just being part of a package, but
so unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that affects us and scares people, it's supposed to, because it makes money. I mean, it sucks. It just sucks. But there are a lot of things in life that we have to deal with that suck. Nobody wants to pay high doctor bills. Nobody wants to pay taxes. Nobody wants to drive 55. There's all kind of things. We just have to deal with it. So we just have to find a way to deal with this. But when we start sounding as irrational as the people that we're complaining about, how does that make us any better?
Well, it certainly feeds their narrative that we're a bunch of fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, I get it. I get it every now and then that, oh, you're one of them. Oh, really? Now I got to bite my tongue and pull back and go, I want to tear this guy's head off. Nope. All right. It's time to educate him, but I got to stay calm, which is not always the easiest for me to do. But I try to think of, when I'm talking amongst Pro 2A guys, I can say whatever, and you guys, you'll get over it and whatever. But when it's somebody who has no idea and they're just going off of what they've seen in the movies or what they've seen on the news or what their union told them to vote, then it's time to take a breath, be calm, and try to do the Second Amendment group, all of us, a favor. But when they hear us ranting the way we do, it does feed their narrative. If
you need to leave, Travis, you can go. We don't need you.
No, man, I'm good. No, I had somebody up at the door. I had to hand something off to a buddy. I do have to leave in a couple minutes. Our vehicle's now ready. I got to go pick it up. But again, this could be a whole nother discussion, a whole nother time. But no, this is all important. This is all imperative and important, and we definitely need to keep ourselves educated and just read about what's going on and look at the decisions that are being made, and definitely petition your representatives. Email them, call them, send letters, anything. Let them know that you don't agree with anything that's going to be pro-gun control legislation at all. I mean, there's no. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying. It's already making me upset to hear about it. So go ahead, Tony.
to drop some food for thought for you guys. So imagine all the dudes that were involved in drafting the Bill of Rights were dropped here in America today. In the current situation, what would their reaction be to what America is today?
I think they'd probably be pretty disappointed.
They'd probably be digging up their guns.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they would be disappointed too, because if you do your research, there's documentation. The people who signed the Constitution, the people who helped draft the Bill of Rights, the people who were involved in the early parts of our government, the people who were involved in our revolution. The whole reason we have that Bill of Rights in there is because of things that come directly out of our oppression and our revolution afterward. They wrote things before, during, and after this whole constitutional time where we're trying to get a constitution together and try to make this country a little bit stronger, because we really started out weak. And if you read this stuff, they go into detail about why there's a Second Amendment, or what they were trying to say, or what their opinions were, or why it's necessary and stuff. And the people who go, well, that doesn't count because they didn't actually put it in the document.
Frame of reference.
If I tell you something today and then 10 years from now I explain what I said, it's still valid.
Frame of reference is easy to find on that stuff. There's lots of it out there. Which is where they lose the argument about the Second Amendment not being absolute. That was not what the framers intended. It was meant to be absolute. And they may be able to find one reference or two that the Federalists kind of wanted more control, but by and large, the founders intended the Second Amendment to be absolute. And if the country wanted to change it, they had to change it via amendment.
That's the thing that drives me nuts when you talk about the Second Amendment. Well, they never envisioned bump fire stocks. They never envisioned semi-automatic sporting rifles. No, they didn't for a reason. It's because they knew that things were going to evolve and they needed to leave it broad so that and everyone could interpret how general and basic the amendment is. I mean,
the simple answer to that one is that what they intended there was that the citizenry have weaponry equal to and greater than the military, just as they did in that time.
And also, to basically retort when people say that, oh, they didn't intend you to have suppressors, fully automatic, semi-automatic, bump fire. I say to that when people say that doesn't apply to the Second Amendment, I'm like, okay, well then you writing on Twitter with your electronic iPhone about the First Amendment doesn't matter either. So you have to write everything with an ink pen and copy paper.
This is how you get the suppressor thing through. Suppressors are not necessary to defend us against a tyrannical government that will come to take over and take away the First Amendment, Second Amendment, blah, 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 blah. They're not. However, it says in there, a well-regulated militia. We, the citizens, are the militia, either individually or as a group that forms in times of need. But no matter what, we are all the militia. What does a militia do? They train. What is a suppressor? For all of us in the Second Amendment community, it's a training aid. It's to save on your ear protection. Oh, sure, everybody talks about how cool they are. That's great. They're cool, whatever. It's really a training aid. And yes, you can use it for hunting so you can get off that second shot or whatnot. That's all good and fine. But at the end of the day, it's something that allows us as a militia to train without damaging our ears, or train in areas where they don't want to hear the noise. So therefore, you can legitimize it because it's part of the militia clause.
Perhaps a better argument for that is that looking overseas to the European countries that they want to tout as so enlightened about their firearms policy, consider suppressors good manners.
I wouldn't do that, because you open up the door for them to go, yes, and they don't allow this, and they don't allow that, and they don't allow this. And I don't want to be like Europe. I work for the Europeans. They suck. Okay, of course, most of my milsurps are European and stuff, so I guess what have I got to say? But I'm just saying that when you want to use the pro gun laws that they use overseas, whether it be Europe or any other country, you also open up the door. It's a swinging door for all the anti-gun laws they have, and they are pretty bad.
But they're touting them anyway.
There was an article the other day of I can't remember where it was. It was a police station or a police force that just ordered suppressors for all their patrol rifles.
Yeah.
I forget where it was, though.
Yeah, that was just on Truth About Guns. I think I saw an article on it this morning, maybe, or somebody had posted. No, DC Channel on YouTube. Go to DC Channel. Go to check out his channel. He did a video on it where he was talking about it, and he pretty much covers the story and why it's ridiculous that they can and we can't. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and shut her down. So, Squib, real quick, did you want to add anything? We got Tony got his information out there about the early watch. Squib, anything you want to share real quick before we go?
Lock and Load Monday nights, 11 o'clock Eastern. That's 2,300 hours. Oiley's Humble Home on Thursdays at 9 o'clock Eastern. That's 2,100 hours. And Early Watch every Saturday possible.
Okay, check all that out over on Gun
Now I did it. Oh, I did what you did. I said Early Watch. Early Watch every morning. No, Caliber Corner every Saturday possible. Oh man,
you can tell I'm on 4 hours of sleep, man. It's not your fault. It's me.
No, what it is no. The Early Watch, it gets into your head.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah.
I noticed that he said I already said mine, so that was a code for shut the hell up.
No, Tony. Say it again.
No. It's just never enough Early Watch.
Never enough Early Watch or late. Was it early hits and late misses? Early watch, hit, or miss? I don't know. It's something. Okay, Travis, other Travis, anything you want to say?
Not a whole lot. Thanks for having me. This was a fun chat. I really liked it. I'm glad I could make it.
Cool.
Yeah, come check out the channel, Midnight Range TM. Been doing some live chats. I'm hopefully going to be doing one tomorrow night. If you subscribe, turn on your notifications so you see it. Probably be doing one tomorrow. It might be in the 10 o'clock time, somewhere around there.
10 o'clock East Coast, right?
Yeah, East Coast. Yep. And I may be doing my story time here. I could do it tomorrow. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to probably read through my story time just to have it all in one section. I kind of always wanted it in one video, so. If you want to hear a fun story, come on, check it out.
Hey, Midnight, do you have anything coming down the pipe in November for Thanksgiving stuff?
You know, I was actually thinking about that the other day. Yeah, I was actually want to do a video on what I do with my turkey every year. The last couple of years is I debone it. I debone the turkey. I take the breast meat off, and then I leave the bones in the legs, and then I can use the whole carcass for stock and do my gravy that way. I'm going to probably do a video on that because it's so different than a lot of people do a turkey, and I brine it. And it's super easy. You just fire it in the oven for like 45 minutes, the day of, and it's really nice. The only thing you can't do is stuff the bird then, but, whatever. Just do it on the side. But I was thinking about doing that and maybe a mashed potato video. I know it sounds kind of goofy, but people screw up mashed potatoes like crazy.
Yeah, if you do them the right way, they are savory and incredible. I mean, if you do them cream and butter and some bacon and oh man,
it's all how you cook the potatoes. Art.
Yeah. So I was thinking about. I know it sounds kind of funny, but the turkey video and the mashed potato video I'm thinking about doing, and the turkey video would include the gravy too, which my gravy is like almost barely thickened because you just reduce it down until it's naturally just kind of thick. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing. I was thinking about trying to maybe do that actually in the next 2 weeks, so that way people would have time to watch it and possibly do it for Thanksgiving. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, by the way.
That's a good idea.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. AWAG, anything you want to share, buddy? Hey, you got any upcoming videos? I've been checking out your pics on Instagram with the trials and tribulations of the Supra.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, man.
Just my it's fine. It's fixed now, but it's just having a little bit of idling problems. But regardless, check out my YouTube channel at AWAG1000. There's two of them. if you haven't noted already, the one that's my picture right here on the live chat, the back of my Supra, that is my main one because my other one I lost the password to. Oh well. Check out my Instagram as well at AWAG1000. I post goofy pictures every once in a while and lots of other things too.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we had a lot of guys join us in on the let's see, the YouTube side. Let's check out the gun channel side. Raphael came in and joined us on the chat. Yesterday's Pomade was there. Gary was there. Some of you guys jumped over to the YouTube side to watch it because I didn't have the live feed running. For some reason, it didn't go. Garage Guns was over there. Now he's over here. Let's see. Who do we got? We've got MRTM, Grim 90, Patriot in the dark, Jorge, Car Carrier, Sean. Don't worry, guys. I promise to get some sleep today. New Throne Clay came and joined us today here. A little bit of everything. Jorge. Yeah. Martin Korf, Garage Guns. Guys, thank you for the super chat money. I appreciate it. We're going to use that to offset this bolt carrier cost that I'm going to sell to AWAG. Unless he doesn't want it, which is fine. I'm just saying we'll definitely give AWAG a discount here for a bolt carrier group I'm going to sell him. Yeah, there you go. Free shipping. Free shipping. There you go. Otherwise, guys, I think that's about it. So this has been Caliber Corner number 16, and I don't know if we'll host one next Saturday. We may not. It kind of depends on what the weekend's looking like. But I will definitely let you guys know if you see one posted on the channel or if you see it listed over on gunchannels.com. You know we're going to host it, and I'll let the panelists know about it. So. Otherwise, guys, I think that's about it. In the meantime, just educate yourself on what to do about that deer. Check out the link for the video that I posted in this video. It's just below in the description box. Great video to watch, just kind of entertaining. It's neat to see the whole process from start to finish. But again, you can pretty much take it however you want and wherever you want when it comes to processing that deer. So, all right, guys, Caliber Corner number 16, and I think that's it. Make sure you like or subscribe, and we will talk to you soon. All right, guys, bye-bye.
Bye, Felicia.
Hey, everybody.
Bye, Felicia.